Welcome into episode 14 of the NTTB podcast. Hold on, what? Oh, we have breaking news. Trey Burke chose not to sign with the Oklahoma City Thunder. And that's the end of our podcast.
And that's the end for today.
No, that's not the end of the podcast. This podcast is just beginning. We got Carmelo Anthony. I don't know how that happened exactly, but we got Carmelo Anthony.
Carmelo Anthony is coming to Oklahoma City.
I mean, we have a team that now has Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and Carmelo Anthony.
All on the same team.
All on the same team.
In a little small market that nobody wants to come to.
Yes. Like, Carmelo Anthony had to say, I'm okay with being traded to Oklahoma City, so New York, get the best deal possible.
Yeah, he had a no-trade clause. He had to waive it in order to make this deal happen.
I just want to thank the basketball gods for the little gym in New York that Russell went to play at a couple days ago.
That Ennis was there as well?
Yeah, Ennis was there. Yeah. We'll get to that. That's the bittersweet part of the NBA business. We will get to that. But, yes, the Oklahoma City Thunder got Carmelo Anthony in a trade today, this morning. So the specifics of the trade are Carmelo Anthony for Enes Kanter, Doug McDermott, and the Bulls' second-round pick. Think about that for a little bit. So in the span of, 3 months, 2 to 3 months in the offseason, we have traded Victor Oladipo, Domantas Sabonis, Doug McDermott, a Bulls second-round pick, not a first-round pick, second-round pick, and Enes Kanter for Paul George and Carmelo Anthony. Now, there are risks. Both are going to be on the last year of their deal, probably.
Well, I think Carmelo has one more year after this.
He has one more year, like guaranteed?
It's his choice. It's an opt-in.
Oh, it's an opt-in.
It's a player option.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so it is a player option.
It's a player option for
$30 million.
$28-29 million.
Yeah, so he has that. So, I mean, he could opt out of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's still his choice.
Because Paul George has a player option also.
Yeah.
So we literally got two guys that have been all-stars on the East for the past, Paul George for about the past 5 to 6 seasons, Carmelo Anthony for about the past, 10, 11, 12 seasons?
Yeah, it's been a while.
And we got them for guys that have never been on an all-star team, never even sniffed an all-star team. That's amazing to me. That, Sam Presti is doing work. I don't know. I think the Kevin Durant thing put a bug in his butt and put a bug in the front office. I mean, not just the front office, but the ownership. I think ownership kind of realized, oh, crap. If we continue on with, I'm not going to call it cheap. I'm going to call it just
financially prudent.
Very financially prudent, yes. If they continue on that track, they're never going to win. Not in a small market. You're going to have to take chances. And that's the one thing that I think the front office and the ownership did not do enough of, is take chances whenever they had Kevin Durant and Westbrook.
I know you don't like this hashtag, but we're literally living in the hashtag Thunder Forward.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, it's a new era. It is a new era, and it is Thunder Forward. We are moving forward from Durant. That's basically what that hashtag was. Is we're not moving forward from Serge Ibaka. We're not moving forward from James Harden. No, this was moving forward from Kevin Durant. And in that time, we have gotten Paul George, Carmelo Anthony, Patrick Patterson, Raymond Felton, guys that, number one, are veterans, number two, know how to win in this league. It almost makes me think and wonder if Durant would have stayed, whether these deals would have been there anyway.
Yeah.
And it's just like Sam Presti was ready to make those big moves. If Durant came back, he was ready to get Al Horford. He was ready to make big moves to make us not just a contender for one season, but a contender for 5, 6, 7 years to come.
Well, he started the process on draft night, trading Serge Ibaka, getting like Victor Oladipo.
Yeah.
In the event that Kevin Durant were going to resign. He didn't resign. They did what they did, and now he's making more moves. The Thunder, or the front office, is putting in some work.
They are. They really are. They're putting in work.
And not just that. Let's go back to like you said 3 months ago. 3 months ago on a podcast, this was maybe first or second podcast that we're talking about. We're talking about this like a rumor that's like, yeah, it's not going to happen. He's going to Houston, right? And to be fair, you specifically laid out the terms of the deal. It would have to include probably Enes Kanter, Doug McDermott in the second round draft pick. You laid that out, and it ends up being. And then we go. Let's fast forward to yesterday, where. Carmelo, or earlier this week, Carmelo basically puts a deadline on the New York front office. Hey, I want a deal done by Monday.
Not just that. So he put that deadline down. And I guess they really got into a room and said, look, we understand the deadline. We understand we both want to move on. What teams will you be okay with, not just Houston? Because the thing with Houston is, all Houston had to give was Ryan Anderson.
And they don't want Ryan Anderson.
And they don't want him.
They don't want to take his contract.
Exactly, because his contract still has 3 years on it. So Carmelo gave him a list.
Yeah, so then we go back to less than 12 hours ago. We find out, news drops that Carmelo has increased his list of teams that he go to. The big one leading with is that they say Cleveland. And then a few hours later, they say Oklahoma City's on that list. And not even 12 hours later, the deal's done.
And the thing is, whenever I heard that he had a list now, I never heard the Thunder's name in it. I heard Cleveland. I heard it was Cleveland, Houston, and Portland.
Cleveland and Portland.
Cleveland and Portland. And I didn't hear the Thunder. So last night I was like, oh, well, I guess those are the 3 teams that are going to be battling for him.
Yeah, so I got a notification from Bleacher Report late that said the Oklahoma City was on the list.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, Oklahoma City being on the list and the possibility of them actually landing Carmelo are two different things. Cool. Fast forward to not even 12 hours later, because this is almost at 10 o'clock at night when I get the Bleacher Report. Shout out to Bleacher Report for all the text message, for all the news alerts. Notification that we're on the list.
But hold on, doesn't Bleacher Report kind of overdo it
a little bit sometimes? They go too far.
I don't have Bleacher Report, but my daughter does, and sometimes I look at her phone and it's just like Bleacher Report notifications. Yeah, no, Bleacher. That's it.
If you, for whatever your particular teams are, they're gonna over notify you for all that teams that's going on. Some of the notifications are helpful. Some are like, yeah, I could have done without, but at least they're putting the notifications out there.
Okay, so they put it out.
So they put it out there. You fast forward. You call me around 10 o'clock this morning?
Yes, because my daughter, I'm driving. So I'm driving. We're going to the fair, the Oklahoma City Fair. And so I'm driving, and all of a sudden, I just hear a yelp out of my back seat. Oh, the Oklahoma City Thunder got Carmelo Anthony. I'm like,
so shout out to your daughter for breaking the news.
Shout out to my daughter. But yeah, breaking the news to me, and I'm like, what? So I'm driving. I cannot jump on my Twitter. So I call you, and I tell you, hey, we got Carmelo. So you looked it up real quick.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Carmelo. And I got back with you, and sure enough, it was on my timeline.
The specifics, yeah.
And then as I'm looking it up, I have the Arkansas Texas A&M game on, which is on ESPN.
Yeah.
As I'm looking it up, boom, not even 2 seconds later, the screen breaks into a breaking news NBA talk in the middle of the college football game.
Oh, my gosh, really?
Carmelo Anthony traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder, more at halftime.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, no one saw this coming. Like, it's Oklahoma City. It's,
and that's what everybody says. It's Oklahoma. It's Oklahoma City. Nobody wants to go there.
Exactly. There's this stigma that small market teams, to include Oklahoma City, to include New Orleans, to include Utah, to include Portland, that they struggle with getting people. They struggle with getting good players. They can go ahead and draft all they want, and they can keep those players for 4 to 7 years. And, if it works out great, such as the Thunder did with Durant, with Westbrook. But, man, that this guy said, hey, they're on my list. Try to get the best deal possible. Dang.
Not just that.
Wow. That's amazing. And I know I'm speaking in, just one word blurbs, but that's about the only thing that I could process from this whole thing as far as him picking Oklahoma City. Like, we've been on this podcast for about 3 months now, and we've had rumors of Carmelo Anthony and LeBron James.
Yep.
And so we've always analyzed it, but in the end, we've always said there's no chance they're coming here.
It's a yeah, but.
It's a yeah, but. Mm-hmm. The but happened.
Yeah, what's crazy about it is, to put some more words to your expressions, is that Carmelo Anthony had a no-trade clause, one of 3 NBA players to have a no-trade clause, and he waived it for Oklahoma City, which is like completely ass backwards if you think about it compared to what other analysts say.
I mean, it just goes against the grain.
Exactly.
Completely.
Nobody goes from a small market, from New York, the mecca of basketball, and Madison Square Garden, to Oklahoma City, the peak. Which I love it there. I think Carmelo's going to love it there, and it's going to be interesting to see. But he chose us.
Yeah,
he chose, or I should say, he chose Westbrook. He chose Sam Presti. He chose Paul George. It wasn't like a Paul George situation where Paul George didn't have a trophy and they traded him. But I think it ended up working out for him in the long. I think it's going to prove to work out for Paul George in the long run. But Carmelo had to say, "I approve of this."
And the thing is, I don't want to put it out there and make it seem like Carmelo Anthony chose the Thunder because he wants to live in a city like Oklahoma City.
Right.
I'm pragmatic enough. I'm a realist enough to know that he chose us because we have a chance to win.
This is a basketball related decision.
Exactly. This is very much a basketball related decision. And he looked at the rosters and he said, Oklahoma City is a team that I think that I can help get them to that next level. Whatever that next level is, whether maybe our highest with the team that we had was maybe Western Conference Finals or maybe Finals, but a lot more maybe Western Conference Finals. Adding a guy like Carmelo to the team as a third option, not as a first option, not as a second option, as a third option, that helps us jump even more.
Yeah, that definitely adds more wins.
Exactly. Like, we are bona fide top 2 in the West. I don't care what anybody says. Houston and the defense, the Thunder may play them. We're bona fide top 2 in the West.
Yeah, I agree.
So
and the thing is, Carmelo's coming into a situation where there's no pressure on him. He doesn't have to be the star. He doesn't have to be the number 1 guy. And you know how they say Carmelo Anthony, that when it's a black hole, when the ball gets in there, nobody gets out. Well, guess what? He's playing on a second unit where he can do that.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be. We'll get into that.
Well,
I think they're going
to. At times, he'll be playing on a second unit where he's going to be the main focus. But at the same point in time, like I've said before, and I've said it on this podcast, when he in Utah or in Denver, when he was there and he felt like he had teammates that he can count on, he was more willing to pass the ball. Mm-hmm. And I think he's going to come into a situation where he's going to see an Alex Abrinas, a Jeremy Grant, see these guys developing, being able to make shots, and it's not necessarily going to be a black hole. I think he's gonna pass. I think he's gonna score when he wants to. I think he's gonna pass when it's the right basketball move.
And just think about this. I mean, you look at the Thunder, and you look, basically Westbrook, George, maybe include Adams in that, untouchable. Mm-hmm. And then you looked at the second tier of players, and you said, man, Abrinas would be a get for a team. Terrence Ferguson would probably be a get for a team. Jeremy Grant would be a get for a team. Those guys are still on our team. It's Sam Presti has a voodoo that he's using these last 2 years on GMs. That's just awesome. We're taking some of the risk. I know these guys are coming in here, and it may just be a 1-year deal. But you take that risk. Like I said with LeBron. If LeBron says, "Hey, I'm okay with going to Oklahoma City," you trade what you need to trade to get LeBron. If Anthony Davis, who does not have a no-trade clause, but if New Orleans comes up to you and says, "Hey, this guy's available, what are you going to give us?" Outside of Russ and Paul George, you trade what you need to trade to get him.
Yeah, these are top 20 guys.
Exactly. And Carmelo's not a top 20 guy anymore.
He's a number 64.
But he's not a 64. He's not a 64. He's at least top 40.
Yeah,
and I think he's higher. And you think he's about top 40. I think he's higher.
Yeah, I think he's definitely top 40. But then again, I based on him being in New York and trying to be the number 2 or the 1A, 1B, however you want to categorize it, Porzingis or whatever. Now he's coming into a situation where he doesn't have that pressure on him.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't.
All he has to do is score and play a little bit of defense.
Remember what Durant said last year. Durant wanted to go to a team where not all the pressure was on him.
Where he didn't have to be the guy.
And he could enjoy playing basketball. Mm-hmm. I think Olympic Melo or Hoodie Melo is a player that enjoys playing basketball once again. And I think that's the player that we're getting in the Thunder, that's coming to the Thunder. I don't think he's going to be the same kind of downtrodden guy that he knows he has to be the number one guy in New York. And New York is a place where if
you don't produce, you're gone.
Well, not just that, but if you don't produce, you become the ire of the media there. You become, like, you're not the star anymore. And he has not produced. Some of it not by any fault of his own. Some of it is his fault of his own. But he doesn't have that pressure anymore. Number one, Oklahoma City, not New York media. Number two, he's the third guy on this team. It's a win-win for both.
Number three, he doesn't have a front office that's actively criticizing him or basically trying to force his hand into getting rid of
Or he doesn't have a
Nate
front office that is completely inept. I say that I think Steve Mills is doing an okay job since he took over for Phil Jackson.
He's doing what he can.
Yeah, he's
considering
doing what he can.
he just got in there.
But man, these last 3 years in New York have been a circus, and I don't blame Melo I don't blame him for getting that no trade clause because he knew as soon as Phil Jackson wanted to get him out, Phil Jackson would have traded him like that
for nothing.
For nothing, exactly. So it worked out in our favor once again, and I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with it as well. I'm sad to see some of the players that we lost leave.
I am. We'll get into that.
But I'm okay with this decision. 3 months ago when we were talking about it, I was like, I don't know. I don't see how he fits. Mm-hmm. I just don't. I don't know. Fast forward three months in time, and I like this move.
Oh, I love it.
I like this move a lot. As far as
what we gave up, I love it.
That, and I get to buy a Oklahoma City Thunder jersey that says Anthony on the back, which is my first name. And I don't have to be one of the ones that I created.
Yeah,
it's an actual player.
And not just that. Like, okay, so we're both Puerto Rican, and Puerto Ricans in the NBA are few and far between.
Yes, they are.
JJ Barea, Carmelo Anthony's half.
Carlos Arroyo, a couple years.
Used to be, yeah. But as far as currently, JJ Barea and Carmelo Anthony, who's half Puerto Rican, but he claims it.
It's still more than a lot of people.
Exactly. And JJ Barea gets on my damn nerves. I hate the guy. He plays for the Dallas Mavericks. He's always been a thorn in the Thunder's butt. I don't like the guy. So he's a Puerto Rican that I don't like. So I'm one of these games, I'm bringing a Puerto Rican flag to the game.
Yo, I mean, you got to.
You got to. I mean, it's
there's musical instruments in Puerto Rico known as plena, which are just basically like drum heads on little portable stands, and it's a series of 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And you rhythm. I fully expect for that to be
a thing now.
A thing, at the arena, outside of the arena. And if you remember when we had Thunder Alley before, that got shut down. When we had Thunder Alley, I mean, us Puerto Rican Thunder fans, before we even had Puerto Ricans on the team, were out there in full force with all kinds of Latin percussion instruments, putting on a damn concert, watching those games outside when they were airing the game. So now that we have a bona fide half Puerto Rican player on the floor, I can imagine these guys coming back.
Yeah, oh, definitely. I mean, those instruments that you're talking about, the plena, it's going to become the vuvuzela of
it might get banned.
It might get banned. Yeah, exactly. All right, so coming back to the trade, coming back to the makeup of the team now. Starting lineup. He's got to be in the starting lineup.
You think he's starting lineup?
I think he is.
Okay, so your starting lineup's looking at Russell Westbrook and
Robertson
in your backcourt.
Mm-hmm.
So your front court now makes up Steven Adams, Paul George, and Carmelo Anthony?
Yep. I don't think he came here to be off the bench. I don't think he came here to be a 6-man. So, and I mean, that's...
So then that means you have Jeremy Grant, Patrick Patterson, Alex Abrinas, Raymond Felton coming off your bench.
Yeah, and Patrick Patterson. The thing with P-Pat is you can go ahead and use him at the 5.
Yeah, he's gonna be basically he's the de facto 5.
He's the de facto backup 5.
Unless you go Jeremy Grant in small ball. So now we have to reevaluate our small ball lineup.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Ooh,
sorry about that.
There we go. Death lineup. Mega death lineup. Because now we can, this is not a death lineup. We can literally put people out there that offensively can keep up with the Warriors.
Because that's basically what we're doing in the West.
That's what you got to do. You got to keep up with the Warriors.
So the Warriors' death lineup is going to be Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green,
Iguodala,
and Durant.
That's your death lineup. And that's a hell of a death lineup.
Now your equivalent is going to be Russell Westbrook.
Abrinas or Robertson.
Abrinas or Robertson. Ferguson's too young.
Yeah, way too young.
Unless he just has a hell of a season and develops later on in the season. But
so your backcourt's going to be
Westbrook
Russ,
and
Abrinas or Robertson, whether you want to do offense defense.
Okay.
So then you're going to have George at the 3, Melo at the 4, and then your 5. I'm looking at either Patterson or Grant. Grant, I mean, they're both pretty good defensively.
But I think Grant's going to have the edge up as far as speed wise because he's a little bit younger.
But Patterson's a much smarter player.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, but I think that'll be your. Billy,
so we have like a death lineup plus a 6-man.
Billy Donovan is going to have so many options. It's not even funny.
Well, when Billy Donovan was coaching at Florida, that they won the back-to-back championships, he did run at times a version of a small ball lineup because he had Al Horford, he had Joakim Noah.
Yeah, he did,
on those championship teams.
Oh, those are big guys, though.
Well, yeah, those are big guys, but Al Horford is not necessarily. I mean, he's a 4, but they play him at a 5 at times. But realistically, he's more like a 4.
Yeah, he is,
and he's a 4 that can pass.
Yeah, I see what you're saying now.
And Joakim Noah's been a 5, but he's one of those skinny, tall 5s that's more of a passer than he is.
But Joakim Noah is probably the best passing big still in the league.
No, I would give that to.
Or probably Jokic or.
No, I would give that to. Marc Gasol all day.
Yeah, I can see that too. But who cares about those other teams? We're talking about our team.
I mean, yeah. So back to that. So it looks like we have like a death lineup plus a 6-man.
Oh yeah, I mean we have options.
Yeah.
So if you want death lineup, let's say let's say you're down to the Warriors.
Your defensive death lineup.
Yeah. Let's say you're down.
Okay.
I think you would probably trot out Abrinas out there.
Okay.
Let's say you're up, but they're starting to catch up. I think you'd probably trot out Robertson and
Adams.
Yeah, Adams or but yeah, Billy Donovan's going to have so many options. A lot of this is going to weigh on him as far as what he uses, how he uses it. It's going to be a telltale season for Billy Donovan, and he's done great the last 2 seasons. Don't get me wrong.
According to most people.
Well, according to the fact that he took a team that first year, basically, and they're going to lose to the Spurs, and they beat the Spurs, made it all the way to the Western Conference.
And they beat them handedly.
Yeah, exactly. Made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals and had the Warriors down 3-1.
And most people thought that. I mean, they got a bad draw where they got a bad matchup where they were seeded last year, but they believed if they were seeded in the other half of the bracket that they had a better chance of beating San Antonio and making it deeper and finding a way to maybe make it to semifinals or Western Conference Finals just based on the bracket that they were in because of the matchups.
So, I mean, it's a lot of playability. There's a lot of things that Billy Donovan can do with this. I mean, I'm excited to see what he does with it. But a funny thing from this, so of course, Houston was it all along. Like, everybody thought he was going to Houston. Houston fans were like, look.
They were already buying Carmelo Anthony.
They were buying Carmelo Anthony T-shirts or jerseys. They're right here saying, hey, it's all over but the paperwork. It's basically a done deal. And that's what I've been hearing all along for the past 2 months on Twitter. Anytime you try to say anything about Carmelo Anthony, when I put out the article that said Carmelo Anthony to OKC, maybe blah, 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 I got land bases pretty much from the Houston, fan base. But man, they're salty now.
A little bit.
They're a little bit like, what?
Like, how did this happen?
We just got hit by Harvey, and now we get this.
Yeah.
What?
They're hiring these people.
Yeah, they don't know. They don't know what happened. They got hit in the in an alley. They got hit in the back of the head, and they woke up, and they don't know where they're at. So shout out to the Houston fans. You guys are a emotional bunch, and that's a great thing for a fan base. But we got Carmelo. So, and then not just him, not just Houston, CJ McCollum, who has been campaigning for Carmelo Anthony to come to their team. And so I'm pretty sure he thought, oh, man, we got a shot now that he's put us on the list. So he came on Twitter. So after the trade happened, he went on Twitter. And what was it that he said?
So he was saying that Enes Kanter, not even 4 days ago, came out and said how much he loved Oklahoma City and how great the organization was. And then fast forward 4 days, and he's being traded. It just goes to show you that this is a business. To which Dame Lillard reported, to which Dame Lillard replied to, "No one's safe."
Why y'all so salty? Like, if Carmelo Anthony would have, if you guys would have put in a bid that New York would have been like, hey, you're going to Portland, you guys wouldn't have said anything. You would not have said, ooh, the business is so tough. No, you would, Dame Lillard, CJ McCollum would be happy as can be, jumping around, knowing they got a player of his caliber to come to their team. So, you know what? As a small market team, I look at these, these players. I look at these fans from other teams. You know what? Let us get a little bit of it. Let us go ahead and experience a little bit of winning these trades and winning these transactions. Let us just enjoy it, and okay. I'm going to enjoy it regardless.
Yeah, and I'm going to enjoy it. But to the point that you were just saying, so Adam Joseph at Adam Joseph Sports replied to CJ McCollum saying, "Would you have said the same thing about the players Portland would have traded to get Melo if they were your friends, or is it sour grapes?" And he included whatever CJ McCollum said, and CJ McCollum responded, "This was 10 hours ago. Yup. Why cry over spilled milk? We are all replaceable, including you. There's always something better out there. Don't get too comfortable."
Oh, my gosh. Come on now. He goes somewhere else. Shout out to Adam Joseph. He's a writer out of Australia. Cool guy, good guy, and he loves Game of Thrones. So shout out to him. So kind of moving on. So we got the whole Carmelo thing. That's awesome. That's great. Yesterday, Sam Presti, or 2 days ago, by the time this podcast comes out on Friday, Sam Presti had his media day presser, basically, his beginning of the season presser. And basically, all of it was Presti talk. You know, how he can talk about basically nothing for 40 minutes and make it seem like he talked about something.
You can't handle the truth.
Exactly. That's him. He's always telling us that we can't handle the truth, and so he gives us these words that come out sometimes, community and, team perspective and blah, 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 blah. And it makes it seem like he's talking about something, but whenever you go to write it down, you actually read it, it's the same crap that he says every time, and you don't get anything new out of it.
He's Jedi mind tricking you.
Exactly. He's a Jedi, which is working against other teams nowadays, so that's great. So one of the big things that he said was that Westbrook, a couple days ago, had a PRP procedure, which is the platelet-rich plasma procedure, where basically they take, your blood? Your blood. They put it in a centrifuge, and they take out the platelets from it, and then reinfuse those back into wherever you're having problems, the knee.
Yeah.
So for him, it was the right knee. And so they said that he would be out the first few days of camp. So, I mean, this is a procedure now that's kind of regular. Like, it was something brand new whenever Kobe Bryant was doing it about 5 or 6 years ago.
Right, he had to go to Germany to get that surgery done.
He had to get it done in Germany. And so now it's become kind of normal, kind of, if a player's experiencing a little bit of discomfort, they'll kind of use this procedure to kind of see as a first measure whenever rest and things like that of that nature aren't working. And so he had this procedure a couple days ago. According to Presti, he'll be out the first few days of camp.
They also said it was a non-issue.
Yeah, it was a non-issue. Same thing he said about Abrinas. Same thing he said about Patrick Patterson, about these things not being an issue. Are you a little bit worried, though?
I wasn't until we were talking off air where you mentioned that this was the same procedure that Reggie Jackson had, and he struggled a little bit coming back from this procedure. So Reggie Jackson had this procedure, and I think he had it, I'd say, about the same time frame that Westbrook has had it now, where it was a couple days before the season. He had it. Now, the thing with this procedure is I can't really tell you whether there are degrees of it, whether there's more platelet-rich plasma being put in for one player versus another player, so on and so forth. But I do know that it caused him to struggle a lot at the beginning of the season as far as him being out there. Now, it could just be a situation where Reggie Jackson just pounded the hell out of the ball and waited till there was 5 seconds left on the shot clock to actually do something, which is what he does. And that team is kind of a bad mess as it is between him and Drummond and not necessarily vibing together. But it does kind of worry me a little bit, especially when we're heading into a season where
an injury to one of those three major players that we have now can completely just decimate everything that we're working towards. So if Presti's saying it's not a big deal, hey, I'm okay with that. And honestly, I actually saw Westbrook today, and there's no limp. There's no, nothing that I could say, oh, wow, he has a stitch on his knee, or there's no limp at all. So.
Yeah, so according to some of the research I was doing, the PRP surgery, there's minimal side effects because the person is using their own blood.
Yeah.
So there's less worry about an infection or, the blood's not being simpatico or whatever because it's coming from your own body.
And then when we say surgery, like,
it was just like a needle injection.
Yeah, this is more of a needle injection. This is not too much of a cut and do something. No, this is more of a needle injection. So it's surgical in nature, but it's more of a procedure, not necessarily surgery.
It's an outpatient surgery or outpatient procedure. It usually takes anywhere from 45 to 90 minutes to do. And it's shown a lot of positive results for osteoporosis and arthritis.
Yeah, which is athletes have to deal with that all the time. And so the way Westbrook plays, he's been in the league 10 years now. This is his 10th season. So definitely you can see some arthritis, some, a little bit of bone breakdown because of how he plays and, being that he's been in the league for 10 years.
Yeah, so this procedure itself could be, depending on the doctor, depending on the person getting the procedure, anywhere from a one-time injection to a series of injections spaced out over weeks or months, depending on how severity and all that other stuff. And they just believed that freezing and thawing the PRP negatively affects its use and prefers to do it a separate blood draw and then centrifuge it and then put it back in. Yeah. Earlier was PRP. They would pull it, put it in centrifuge, cool it, thaw it back out, then put it back in your body. But for the most part, it's just a simple procedure and shouldn't really affect most people.
Okay, all right. Well, hey, positive vibes. So we'll go forward with that. Another thing from the Sam Presti press conference, of course they asked him about the whole Kevin Durant Twittergate. And just like basically everybody else in the Thunder organization, he took the high road. He said that, look, nobody in this organization is going to talk about Kevin Durant in a negative manner. We always talk about Kevin Durant in a positive manner.
He said they're very thankful for everything that's done for the organization and while he was here. They had no hard feelings.
Good on him. Good on him. But I'm not Sam Presti. So Twittergate. So this happened around Monday or Tuesday. And so, of course, unless you live under a rock, you know what happened. But basically, me explaining it to you. So somebody was talking with Durant on Twitter. Sent him a Twitter and basically said, hey, as far as you're a good player, you're one of my favorite players, I think. But why couldn't you have waited one more season with Oklahoma City? Basically, is what he asked him. Shout out to Cole. What was it, Cole Caswell or Cole?
Cole, something like that.
Yeah. Shout out to him.
Basically saying, you use the old adage, if you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah, exactly.
Why?
So Durant, thinking that he was probably on one of his alternate accounts, because apparently he has those, or a ghost account, basically said that Durant didn't like Donovan.
He went third person, yeah.
Yeah, he went third person. He didn't like Donovan and didn't like the organization, and that it was just him and Russ, and he couldn't win with those cats.
Well, not just, he said, take him and Russ off the team. Who do you got?
Yeah, nobody. You can't win with those cats. And the thing was that he kind of forgot to switch accounts, and so he posted it on his own account.
His verified verified Twitter account.
Yeah, the verified Twitter account. So it was him. Now, to his credit, he didn't go on there, after he found out. So he deleted it.
So this was Monday. The tweets were deleted shortly after.
Yeah.
So Tuesday. So the story breaks Monday. It's all over the, possible Kevin Durant forgot to log out of his Twitter account, yada, yada, yada. Then you fast forward into Tuesday.
Yeah, so you fast forward into Tuesday. And so, of course, he has no, credit to him. He didn't deny it, number one. He didn't put the whole, somebody hacked me or one of my boys got to my phone and was just answering for me or whatever. No, he said, look, I did it. So he was at a tech
Tech conference in San Francisco. Yeah.
So he was at a tech press conference, and of course they asked him about it. He said, "Look, I did it. I should not have do it. That was childish. That was idiotic of me.
I'm sorry that I hurt Coach Donovan and the Thunder organization."
No, he never mentioned it by name. That's the thing. That's what kind of he never mentioned Coach Donovan. He said, "I'm sorry. He said, I'm sorry about I mentioned the coach and the players and the organization." He never said the Thunder. He never said, Coach Donovan. So I hate when they do that. Like if you're going to apologize to who you need to apologize to.
Yeah, but to his credit, he owned it right away. I mean, within 24 hours, he owned it, didn't make any excuses.
I mean, he owned it. Like the way a bank robber who gets caught with the money in his hand walking out of the bank owns it.
He got caught, but he owned it. We've seen other athletes who are caught red-handed and still try to deny it and say that they're hot. So, credit to Kevin Durant for owning it. And then he comes out after the tech conference, also comes out saying that, he in the tech conference, he says he loves Twitter. He likes using it. It's a way to interact with your fans in a way that you've never been doing.
A way to clap back.
And that way to clap back. And then a few days later, he comes out and says that, over the whole Twitter incident, he couldn't sleep. He couldn't eat. He couldn't play games. He was just so distraught, or he was just, caught up about the incident that he went in too hard and he went too hard at people. Or he went too hard and, it was just a dumb mistake.
So here's what I got to say to that. You a grown-ass man. You a grown-ass man. And I'm sorry to be using language like this. If you have children in the car, if you have children next to you, I'm sorry. But you're a grown-ass man. You are a superstar athlete. Superstar athletes have to deal with, unfortunately, fans that don't agree with their decisions, especially when you made a controversial decision as you made. And what kind of gets me is that he seems like this guy that, so he won his championship. He got that monkey off his back. And now he feels like everybody should be praising him. Everybody should be saying, "Hey, you made the right choice, buddy. You're great. You did it. You did it. Good job." No, man. You have to understand that if you want to go ahead and look back at experience, look at LeBron. Whenever LeBron lost to the Dallas Mavericks that first year that the Big Three was together, the entire world rejoiced. Sorry to say it like that. The entire world rejoiced because the big bad team did not win.
The super team didn't come crushing.
Exactly. In Durant's case, they won the first year they were together. Great on them. But people still feel a certain way about that. And they still feel like all those things that you put on those shoes, all those names, they still feel that way about you. Sorry to tell you that. Your fans are going to be your fans, and your haters are going to be your haters. And unfortunately, because of your decision, there's a lot more haters than there are fans.
Well, with the thing with Durant, I honestly think if he would have made this move to any other team, it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
No,
It'd be over. It's the fact that he joined the 73-win team Warriors that they were up 3-1 on, and last 6 minutes tricked off that game, and then the game 7, and then history knows what happened there. It's the fact that that particular move that you did is why everybody feels the way they do. Mm-hmm. So regardless of you winning the championship, you winning the Finals MVP, people are still going to feel the same because it kind of proves what they were saying.
Yeah, that you just bandwagoned.
Right.
You just jumped on a team that won 73 games, and you want us to be like, great job, man. You did something that if you wouldn't have made this move, this team would never have made it to the finals. No, this team would have been right in that same position. You would have been battling against them, yes, and there might have been a chance that as the Oklahoma City Thunder, you might have beat the Warriors last year. But you know what? No, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. Like, here's what gets me about it. So he criticized Donald Trump earlier this offseason, so he, especially after the Charlottesville thing, and he criticized him and he said, "Look, I don't F with this guy." Mm-hmm. So talking about his politics and things of that nature, and talking about he's not going to go to the White House. This situation right here is very Trumpian. it's very Donald Trumpian as far as the whole Twitter thing.
I like how you turned his name into an adjective.
Yeah, it's how it is nowadays. But this situation, for as much as he dislikes him, so Kevin Durant dislikes, Donald Trump and has actually, made it a thing within the team to not go to the White House. Great on them. That's fine. But the action that he did as far as trying to shield, trying to use a different account, that's some stuff that Donald Trump would do. That's some stuff clapping back against my haters. You're a grown man. You're a grown man. You don't have to clap back against anybody. You're a millionaire. You're rich. You've made it out of the struggle that you had coming up. You don't have to clap back against anybody.
Yeah, you give it back.
All you have to do is tell people scoreboard. That's all you have to do. Scoreboard of life. That's all you have to do. And yet you want to go ahead and still be like, look at me. Look what I did. And you want everybody to be like, oh, Kevin Durant, you're so great. You're so great. Grow the hell up, man.
So here's my thing on the situation. Kevin Durant is Finals MVP. He got his first ring. Mm-hmm. He's living in California. He's got a huge Nike contract. Got a pretty decent contract from the Golden State Warriors. He's a Nike basketball ambassador to India. Yeah. Traveled India. Got to go home, back to his hometown in Maryland with his NBA trophies. You're winning.
What do you want?
You're winning. So for you to still, first of all, why are you trying to convince one person at a time on Twitter? That makes no sense. Mm-hmm. But for you to still look back and reference your quote-unquote ex-girlfriend, makes no sense. You're winning. You're winning at life. You are the envy of people, not only professional basketball players, but people in life in general. You're winning. You're living the life that few people get to live.
And yet you don't feel satisfied. It feels like he does not feel satisfied. And I'm sorry if he has daddy issues. I'm sorry if, growing up how he did, he has daddy issues. But you know what? There's a whole bunch of people in America that have made it, that have daddy issues, that don't clap back at everybody that talks about them.
And I get it. This is a younger generation. They do things a little bit differently. But my point is two things. One, I much would have preferred you to just put those out on your Twitter account. Why do you have to create a fake Twitter account to put that out? If that's how you feel, then say it.
And it's basically
and own it.
And it's basically known information.
Right. It's like, nothing new.
It's nothing new. Like, he's put out there that said, like, look, especially like whenever the season first started last year, him and Anthony Slater were talking. He was like, look, I can't give you exact quotes, but basically saying that he got tired of the organization always bringing in younger players. You remember that, right?
Yeah.
So he got tired. So that's basically what he said. Like, so I don't necessarily fault him for what he said, because what he said, he's already said it before. Not the whole Billy Donovan thing. That's something that's brand new. But I can kind of see that where maybe he loved Scott Brooks. Scott Brooks was his guy.
Yeah, and that's well known.
Yeah, and Scott Brooks was his guy. So, yeah, when you fire your guy and you bring in this new guy, maybe this new guy maybe he was pushing, as far as, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that, whatever. I don't like that. Okay, whatever. But what he said is already known. He didn't have to go ahead and, create another account to get people off his back. I don't know what he was trying to do with that.
Just own it. And then another thing that comes out later after this whole him owning it and Twitter fiasco and stuff like that is that he talks about and let me.
You talk about whenever he signed a contract and they went to China,
that, and also he had just recently. Okay, so he had said. In talking when he made a decision on July 4th to sign with the Golden State Warriors, he said, I truly had invested everything I had into people I played for. And for those people that I know and love and to trust to turn their backs on me after I was fully invested in them, it was just more than I could take. And I'm like, okay, from a young man's perspective, making his first real big business decision, I can understand that. But at the same point in time, you got to understand that you decided to turn your back on them when you went and signed with Golden State. Yep. So the reverse is the same.
Yep.
And for him not to have understood, and then on top of that, he talks about while he's in China, He remembers being restless and not sleeping for 2 days straight. And he calls his agents like, "Why'd you let me make this? Why'd you let me make this horrible decision?" And it wasn't until he reported in July for USA Basketball for the Olympics that he started becoming more comfortable with the decision. When guys like Kevin Love were like, "Hey, you got to do what you got to do." Yeah. DeMar DeRozan was like, "Hey, man, congratulations, I'm happy for you." He got the affirmation from other players that he was okay with his decision. How do you need other people's affirmation on making a decision like this big? That doesn't make any sense to me. You should have been okay with the decision before you put it out on the Players Tribune on July 4th.
You grown-ass man. You're supposed to be happy.
It's the real world.
Exactly. You're supposed to make a decision. And that quote that you said, what did he say? Why did you make me why did you let me make
Why
this
did
decision?
you let me make this decision? To his agent Rich.
That goes into the psyche of Kevin Durant. In that he's a man-child. In that he's this guy that he blames. It looks like he blames other people whenever a decision kind of goes that doesn't go the way he thought it was going to go. So that kind of goes into the psyche of Durant as a man, number one. And then this whole thing kind of goes into the psyche of a man that is constantly needing affirmation, a.k.a. like Donald Trump. I won the election. You're supposed to do what I say. No, man, it doesn't work that way. There's ways to do it. You're still going to have haters, Kevin Durant. Deal with it. Tell them, hey, scoreboard of life, I'm winning. Get off Twitter. Yeah. I don't know.
And I understand Kevin Durant not wanting to be the villain in all of this, but that's not something you can control, right? You can't control how people view you. You can't control whether they decide to be the villain. But then again, this has gone to something we've talked about before, the flip-flop. One day on Twitter, you're, the nice, humble guy or whatever, and then the next day, you're clapping back at these people.
Yeah.
So, like, you and your in and of yourself need to decide how you're going to handle it. But at the end of the day, none of this is really new information other than Billy Donovan stuff.
Yeah.
None of this is anything that you couldn't have just said on your own Twitter. And then on top of that, why do you need to go back at these guys? Because at the end of the day, that's just some guy at home texting on Twitter, talking to you. That really doesn't mean nothing in the long run.
No, it doesn't.
Enjoy your finals MVP. Enjoy your ring. Focus on
next season.
Yeah. Media day for the Warriors was on Friday. Focus on all of that. But now, personally, I like Draymond Green as an overall person. When it comes to the basketball season, I can't stand him.
Yeah,
that's just what he is. However, he has gained a notch up in my eye because on Monday night, he was out eating with Draymond Green down in L.A., and TMZ just happened to be out there, and they asked DeAndre Jordan about the Kevin Durant fake Twitter account. And DeAndre Jordan said, you should ask this guy. And so, DeAndre Jordan's car is there. Draymond Green's is walking down towards his car. And Draymond Green just starts laughing. Just laughing. That was his response, was just laughing. And he's walking away. He's laughing. He's like, all right, I'll meet you there. Then at Friday at the press conference, they asked Draymond Green about the whole Twitter incident. And he's like, I stood right there where you're sitting at, and I laughed at his face. And, of course, obviously they're going to make fun of him throughout the season about this. And I think he's okay with it now or whatever. And I think he'll be a good sport about it and laugh about it. But the fact that Draymond Green just came out and was like, I laughed in that man's face has just kind of like put him a notch up in my book.
Now, do you know who the real MVPs are in this whole situation?
Who's that?
Is the Thunder's communication staff. That they managed to keep this guy under wraps for 9 years without him being a dumbass on Twitter for 9 years. That's a job in and of itself.
Yeah.
That's a job. And I know, one of the things that kind of Kevin talked about was the freedom to do whatever he wanted to do. But this is what that freedom gets you sometimes. So when you have the freedom to do whatever you want to do, sometimes that backfires on you whenever you make a stupid decision. And so the Thunder, one of the things about their culture, one of the things about they're very insulated, and they've gotten a lot better this past season, especially this past offseason about not being so insulated.
So rigid.
Yeah, so rigid with their players. But one of the good things about the rigidity is that you insulate your players from situations like this.
They give them
They give them a short leash. And so when you give them a longer leash, sometimes they go out and they bite people. And then that's what happened here. So Kevin Durant, his move to the Warriors, I think the Warriors are a lot more lax when it comes to player communications as compared to the Thunder.
Well, It just seems like that whole organization is more lax.
Yeah, very lax. Yeah. And that's fine. Some people like that.
It works for them.
It works for them. But whenever you do stuff like this, whenever you allow a player to, go ahead and,
tell us how you really feel.
Tell us how you really feel. Sometimes that goes back and bites you in the butt. And this is a situation like that. I think that's kind of what happened here. But you know what? I'm done talking about Kevin Durant because this team has gotten so much better since then.
Yeah, it's it happened this week, so we talk about it and it's over. But Monday's media day, Tuesday started training practice.
Yes,
training camp. We are officially at 22 days to the NBA's tip off on October 17th.
Like that,
yeah. And then we got it's game time. The only time we need to worry about talking about the Warriors is
November 22nd.
November 22nd, which is when they come here. So, it is what it is. Kevin Durant owned it better than most athletes would have done it. I think nothing new. It's okay.
He'll be more careful.
He's young. He's still, 28, 29. It's one of those things. It could have been worse. It is what it is. Let's move on.
So, Carmelo Anthony, yay.
Yes.
Enes Kanter, sad face.
Yes, that is a sad face emoji.
I love Enes Kanter, man. I love Enes Kanter, and I know he has his flaws as a player. I know defensively, blah, 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 blah. For as good as a player he is, he's a better man.
Yeah, sometimes the man itself overshadows the basketball skills.
Very much so. And that's definitely the case with Enes Kanter. Enes Kanter came to this team, and he has taken the values of the team and put them up front to where people can see it. So you're talking about, the community. You're talking about family, teammates, teamwork coming together. This guy came to the organization via trade. He had a kind of a rough exit out of Utah. Came here, and the man embraced the city. The city eventually embraced the man. So you saw his video that he had today. His farewell video for Oklahoma. And one of the big things that he said on there was, when I lost my family, when I lost my country, you guys became my family. You guys became basically my country. So, it's hard to look at that and forget about the business aspect of the game and not just feel bad for the guy. Feel bad, he's still going to get paid 18 point whatever million this year, regardless of where he's at. But he was a guy that I felt, because of that contract, was kind of pigeonholed into maybe a kind of like a situation that wasn't really his fault. As a player, you need to get what you can get. So he got as big a contract as he can get. The Thunder matched it. It was their option. It was their choice. And so because
that price point requires a certain level of competitiveness or certain level
definitely, yeah.
Return.
And that's the business part of it also. But man, so kind of the story I want to tell is that today the reason I was in Oklahoma City was, number one, to go to the fair, yay, which is real good. This is my first time actually going into the fair, and I had a great time, but it ends tomorrow. But the real reason I was in Oklahoma City was because two of my kids were going to attend his camp. And it just so happened that today was the day he was traded. And so, number one, you go to the camp. Number one, I was kind of wondering whether he was going to cancel it, because that's a big-time life event to happen to you. And it's understandable for a player to say, hey, I would love to have this camp, but a lot is going on in my life right now. I have to move. I have to do this. I have to do that. But no, he stayed with his schedule, kept his word, and and did his camp. So we went to the camp, and I'm thinking, damn, this is going to be a somber event, man. You know, it was the opposite of that, man. It was a heck of a farewell kind of event for him. And one of the most beautiful things that I saw throughout the whole thing, it was a 2-hour event. And within that 2 hours, you had Steven Adams, you had Josh Eustace, Patrick Patterson, Andre Robertson, and Russell Westbrook all show up to kind of bid him farewell, give him a hug. It was like the organization. You look at an organization, you say, you know, they're just a bunch of players. This is family, man. No, this was their guy. Ennis was their guy. And, you know, sometimes hard for the business aspect of it to vibe with the family aspect of it. And this was one of those situations. And I put out a whole bunch of pictures. I put a whole bunch of things on Twitter if you want to go ahead and look at them. Because basically I was the only media that was there. Not as media. I was there as a parent. But I was taking pictures. I was kind of looking at this. I was saying, wow. Because it was something I wasn't expected. On a regular day, Ennis doesn't get traded. It's just Ennis there. You know,
maybe Adam shows up because, you know, they're the stash bros.
They're stash bros or whatever. That. But, you know, because one of the things, like, I go to Westbrook. I've been to the Westbrook camp the last 3 years with my kids, and no other players show up. You know, so any other day, it's a regular probably camp with just Ennis Canner and his little group of coaches. But today, I witnessed the familial part of the organization, and you know, it's almost like I'm not somebody that gets, you know, kind of sad or gets, but man, it was an event, man. It was something that, you know, it kind of makes your eyes kind of water a little bit because these guys, you know, they get to a point where they are with each other for 6, you know, so about 7 to 9 months, depending on how long their season lasts. They're family. You know, these guys are family to each other for that length of time.
Yeah, they travel together.
They hang out together.
They eat together.
Yeah, exactly. So it was just awesome to see them going to him to say goodbye. You know, it's just to give hugs to, you know, Westbrook. He got he got there. He got on the microphone. He's basically talking about Ennis and saying that we love this guy and, you know, this guy's top notch, so on and so forth. And then they went to a little, you know, to the side a little bit, and they talked for about 15 minutes. You know, so it just that aspect of it sucks. You know, that aspect of it, you know, kind of. But you know, Ennis is who he is, and he kind of took it in stride too. And whenever he was breaking out with all the kids, you know, I usually, you know, go 1, 2, 3 Thunder. He was like, so are we gonna say 1, 2, 3 Knicks? Are we gonna say 1, 2, 3 Knicks? And he was like, no, I'm just joking. 1, 2, 3 family. And so that's Ennis. That's Ennis in a nutshell, right?
Yeah,
there.
I can. So I wasn't with you today, but I was following you on Twitter and checking out the photos and videos and stuff like that. I almost equate this to like a series finale, like your favorite show. Yep. That last episode where, you know, it's emotional for everybody, and then right at the end they show all the actors and stuff like that, kind of bidding farewell to the crew, whatever. And I see it like that, and I'm pretty sure they say they've told him, hey, until next time, because he's still their guy.
Yeah, he is.
He's one of those guys that I think is always going to be family, no matter where you're at.
Mm-hmm. This was Paul Walker driving to the left while everybody else drove to the right.
Yeah, and so it's a situation that you know, is sad. It makes you realize that, hey, at the end of the day, this is still a business. It's still an organization. You're going to miss a player like that.
I thought, so yes, it's sad because it's a business, but it really humanized it for me.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the sad part. That's the sad part of it. That's the business end of it, and that's the negative part of it. And so, you know, I would love to have a team where we had Carmelo Anthony and we had Ennis Canner. But
it's just not feasible.
It's not feasible in the NBA.
Well, so look at the irony of this, right? So what are the 2 biggest trades that we've had this, or the 2 biggest trades in the last month have been Kyrie to Boston, Ennis to New York, right?
Yeah.
At least as far as it concerns us,
okay,
the organization. So Cleveland opens up at Boston.
And then
the Thunder open up at New York.
No, the New York.
Or New York open. Yeah, the Thunder host the first game for the Thunder is the New York Knicks.
So what kind of reception do you think Enes Kanter?
Oh, he gets a standing ovation.
Oh, look, okay. So I was at the game. I was at the Serge Ibaka game.
I wasn't there on that one.
Okay, so I was there, and the reception Ibaka received was astounding. Like everybody stood up, they were clapping, and it was about a minute where nobody sat down and they didn't present the Thunder, because when they presented the Magic, and so they gave them a huge standing ovation, and it took about a minute before Thunder organization respectfully then dimmed down the lights and started the whole presentation intro for the Thunder. Whenever this guy gets introduced, and then the thing is, I wonder if he's going to start or if he's going to be off the bench. But whenever he comes in, that's going to be about a minute and a half of standing ovation.
Oh, probably longer. The moment he comes into the game and they say, let's all welcome back to Oklahoma City, Enes Kanter.
Oh, man.
The place is going to go off. Rightfully so. It's a guy that, hey, it's not his choice. He had to be traded, but it's a guy that, again, like you said, embraced the organization. The organization embraced him. When the man, like he said, lost his country and lost his family due to situations that were out of his control. The organization stepped up. We've adopted him. Oklahoma has adopted him. And hell, he's probably shown more what it is to be a U.S., what it is to be an American, more than any of us that were born here have demonstrated in the last few years. The man really cares about the country. He really cares about the organization. He really cares about Oklahoma, and we feel the same about him. Unfortunately, business and personal don't always line up on the same page, and we see what we have here. But he definitely gets a standing ovation. And I foresee it 2-3 minute kind of ovation, because we really did like Enes Kanter, or we really learned to develop a liking and a loving for Enes Kanter.
Yes, very much so. And so one of the things I saw whenever Serge Ibaka was introduced was the Thunder players going to him. Westbrook, Adams, Dre, all going to Serge Ibaka and just giving him a high five, giving him a hug, a homie hug, type thing. Same thing's going to happen with Enes Kanter.
Most definitely.
Yeah, it's not going to be the animosity of Durant. It's not going to be the animosity of Reggie Jackson. No, this is family. This is a guy that, out of no choice of his own, got traded. And I'm pretty sure the organization – here's the thing. There have been 2 players that have been traded in the Thunder organization that the Thunder did not want to trade. They had to trade them. That was Kendrick Perkins, and that was Enes Kanter. The organization doesn't want to trade players like that, players that love to play there. Kendrick Perkins loved the team. Enes Kanter loved the team. But business side, you have to get better. Sometimes you have to trade those players to get better. So, sucks.
Yeah, it sucks.
It sucks. But it is the business. We will be there opening night, and we will be cheering for Enes Kanter whenever he gets introduced.
Most definitely.
So, to Enes, I don't know if he listens to our podcast or not, but thank you for the time that you had in Oklahoma City. Thank you for being a good player, but an even better man.
Yeah, and thank you for the videos on Twitter, back at Steven Adams, shaving off your mustache, the Stash Bros, the little videos that you've done in the organization. And thank you for all the little nuances of the stuff that just kind of makes you seem like a regular guy. Yeah. It seems like I could walk up to you in the middle of the street and we could shoot the breeze for 10 minutes because you genuinely seem like a nice person.
Oh, in the little bit of media that I've actually experienced in my life, being in the locker room, things like that. And it's Kanter, one of the easiest guys to talk to. I could just, a couple times last year, I saw you kind of sided up to him in the locker room before games, and I asked him about his arm. Whenever he first broke his arm, his forearm, and whenever he came back,
when he lost to the chair.
When he lost to the chair, yes. But I asked him about his arm, and he was just explaining it to me and telling me that it hurts a little bit, and that just stuff that somebody like Russell Westbrook, who doesn't have that sort of rapport with people, would just be like, don't talk to me right now. I'm getting into the thing. He has the opposite, in his way. And so, at the camp, I dapped him up, and I walked by him, dapped him up, and said, we're going to miss you. And he was great with my kids, took tons of pictures. It was just awesome. It was awesome. And I hope he does a camp next year, regardless, even if him not being here. I hope he does a camp next year, but it was awesome. He's a great guy.
So one of the other downsides, which we didn't talk about in this Melo trade, is not only do we lose Enes Kanter, we lost that everything. one of the other things that we didn't talk about that could be seen as a negative or something we have to go through is
$1 million.
so in receiving Carmelo Anthony, we take in $12.4 million in luxury tax from him, which bumps our final luxury tax bill to 28.4. That's what the Thunder organization will be paying in luxury tax this year if they don't, obviously get under the luxury tax by trade deadline.
In this NBA, you have to pay to win. You have to pay to compete.
And that's what I said. In 28.4, that seems kind of low compared to what some of these other organizations are paying.
You have to pay to compete, man. I mean,
again, it goes more towards what you were saying is that the organization realizing that, hey, we got to spend some to make some.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, they're spending it smartly. Portland spending a whole crap load of money. They're going nowhere. Portland is not going anywhere. Portland may not make it to the playoffs. So, and they're going to be spending more money next year because if they want to keep Nurkic, they're going to have to max him. I'm sorry. Another team's going to max him if they don't max him. So it's spending money, but it's spending it intelligently. It's spending it efficiently. And that's what the Thunder has done in getting Carmelo Anthony and getting Paul George. If you're going to go ahead and spend, I don't know, how much is it? So 19 plus 28. So if you're going to spend darn near $40 million, you might as well get those two players instead of getting two players who may not be as good.
Two players that might equal one of those players.
Exactly. So, they're going to be spending. It's going to be a high luxury tax bill. But a GM doesn't make those moves unless the ownership says go ahead. So maybe it's all those years of saving up and not paying the tax, and maybe this is the year that they said, you know what, let's go, let's get it. So I'm excited. I'm happy. But one guy that isn't too happy, Trey Burke. So earlier today, after the Melo trade, so we have a couple roster spots opening up now since we traded 3 players for 1 player. So the Thunder reportedly signed Trey Burke, ex-Utah Jazz point guard, high draft pick.
He was also a lottery pick.
Yeah, he was a high draft pick.
Yeah.
Never kind of panned out in the NBA, but, I mean, he's an NBA player. So they said that he signed, but then a couple hours later, he didn't sign. So from everything that I hear, the holdup was on the guaranteedness of the contract. I guess the Thunder wanted to have a kind of an out if he didn't pan out in training camp versus maybe Samaj Kristen. And I think Burke wanted more guaranteed that he is the guy, the third guy at least. And so I guess that kind of dissolved, dissipated a little bit, and Trey Burke decided not to sign with the Thunder. So the Thunder have a roster spot. What do you think they do with it?
I think what they do, I think
they opt into Samaj?
Or I think they hold it open like they've done in the past, see how it plays out, and see where they might have a deficiency, and then go out and get that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, backup center is you have Dakari. Dakari's going to be a rookie though.
Mm-hmm. That's it. You have Adams and Dakari listed at center. Listed at the center position, you have Dakari and Alex.
Yeah, and Dakari and Adams.
I'm sorry, Adams. Yeah.
And I mean, the thing is, you can put Patrick Patterson in there. You can put Jeremy Grant in there. In a pinch. Mm-hmm. So I'm not too worried about that. So I mean, the Thunder do have a spot open. It'd be interesting to see what they do with it.
You know what I'm just realizing, though? I'm looking at the roster, right? So it's weird seeing Carmelo Anthony's name on there, number 7. But I'm looking at this list, and I'm like, damn, Josh Huestis really ain't getting on the court now.
No, he's not.
like, where does he get his minutes now?
I don't know, man. I mean, maybe the Doug McDermott minutes? I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, but the Doug McDermott minutes, you look at that, you got, like, Daniel Hamilton on there. You got obviously Alex Abrinas is going to get more minutes.
That's been the question for the last 2 years, man. I mean,
and for all intents and purposes, we've seen him play. We've been there a couple times where right after the Oklahoma City Thunder game on a Sunday is the Blue game.
Yeah,
and we've seen him play. He's got
talent.
He seems like he has all the tools to be a decent player in the NBA.
Yeah, and when he plays okay.
And you just look at this roster and like, this dude is not getting on the court.
From everything that I hear is, I guess they don't necessarily like the way that he's a tweener. So he's too small to be a 4, and I don't think they like the way he defends the pick and roll as a 3. So I don't know. I don't know. When it comes to Josh Eustace, you might as well just trade the guy to another team and just give him a chance on a. I would trade him to like a lottery team and see if he's able to get playing time and do what he needs to do there. But I mean, this is his third year in the league. Maybe they'll bring him back for a fourth year just to have him on the roster. I don't know. He seems like a good guy. He seems like a guy that gets along, with his team. Maybe he's just a locker room guy. I don't know. All right, so Twitter questions. So we got a couple Twitter questions. All right, so the first one's from Moriat Logan, at Moriat Logan. So will Billy D need more seasoned assistant coaches to help really get all of Russ, PG, and Melo to buy in, let alone create a playbook for all three? I think it's a little bit late in the game to bring in assistant coaches because most of the good ones are on contracts with other teams. Mm-hmm. I think the Thunder do have pretty good assistant coaches. You have Mo Cheeks, you have Adrian Griffin, and those are respected assistant coaches. And then you have Royale Ivy, you have Darko Radjikovic.
Radjikovic.
Yeah.
They also have, is he a coach? Mark Bryant, I think his name is?
Yeah, you have big man Mark Bryant. He's another assistant coach that is well-respected around the league, ex-player. So I think they have a good core of assistant coaches.
You would love to see Monty Williams on this coaching staff.
Yeah.
With the players that we have now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, situations happen in life. Probably makes it difficult for him to be here. Mm-hmm. And, he's on with another team or another organization doing what he needs to do. And we respect that. But you would definitely love to see Monty Williams on this coaching staff.
Okay, second question from Moriart Logan. Can we convince Melo to opt out of his last year if Russ and PG want to sign new contracts that are lower than the DPE to stay together, so the designated veteran player exception? So I guess they're talking about if Russ goes into this season without signing his extension, and then makes it all the way to next season, and so all three of them kind of are there. Would Melo opt out of his player option for $30 million to allow the Thunder to sign Russ and PG? I mean, I don't really understand the question per se, but I guess what he's saying is opt out of it so that the Thunder have more money to go ahead and allow Russ and PG to sign smaller contracts to bring back Melo.
Basically, to keep all three. Basically, you're looking at a Miami Heat situation where all three make about the same amount of money. They all take less to make right around the same amount of money to keep this team together.
My thing with that is the Thunder have the bird rights to all three of them. So they can bring them back regardless of – so they can sign whatever contract they want next season without needing somebody to opt out or without needing somebody – they have the bird rights. So they can go over the salary cap to sign them. Whether there's going to be finagling, whether there's going to be some
pinching,
backroom dealings between the three of them, that's fine. I don't think Melo is long for this team. I say that, but he actually came here, so I don't know if that's.
It just really all depends on how three play together.
Yeah, exactly.
When it's all said and done, yes, we've seen them play together at times during USA basketball. Yeah. But USA basketball and the NBA season are two different things. So when it's all said and done, it's just a matter of how this team looks together.
Yeah, and if they mess around and win a championship together, why break that up? Why do that? Or if you win a championship, they might be like, hey, mission accomplished. We're going to go this way. You're going to go that way. And, hey, I have a question. I kind of like just thinking about this. So Carmelo Anthony, one of the things he's associated with is the Banana Boat crew. Mm-hmm. Him, Chris Paul, Dwayne Wade, and LeBron James. So Dwayne Wade is being talked about as being bought out maybe even before the season starts.
Yeah, but I think Chicago's too stubborn to do that. So I think that's more of a December time frame.
Regardless, whenever it happens. Let's say the Thunder keep a spot open for the possibility of Banana Boat Brother number 2 coming to the Thunder. You think that's a possibility?
We go from Banana Boat to a raft?
No, we still got a Banana Boat. It's just 2 of them.
Well, figuring, Oklahoma City has the Whitewater Raft.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
We could be the raft boat.
Yeah, the raft boat crew.
Yeah, look, Dwayne Wade coming off the bench,
man,
is great for you.
Yes.
You don't have to play him, 15, 20 minutes a night. You don't have to ask a lot of him, and he can just go do his thing.
Can you imagine the death lineup with that?
Then you have a 6th and 7th man.
Oh my gosh! But I think that's a possibility. I think that it's something that the team themselves may be keeping that spot open for that possibility.
Again, if that happens, just go ahead and make Sam Presti the general manager of the year.
Oh, he's executive of the year regardless. Like no other team has done anything. I mean, maybe Morey. Oh, Chris Paul, good job. But this guy has signed this guy has gotten 2 bona fide top 30 players
for 5 players and a draft pick.
Exactly, and it's not even a first round pick. Like
it's a highly protected 2nd round.
No, it's not. No,
it's not highly protected.
No, it's not protected at all. That's why I like that pick because Chicago's supposed to be disastrous this year. So we would have had a high 2nd round pick, which are valuable. High 2nd round picks are more valuable than low 1st round picks.
You get more bang for your buck.
Well, exactly, and you don't have the commitment. Like in the 1st round, you have to sign them at least for 2 years, and then you have team options for 3 and 4. But in the 2nd round, you can do those 3-year contracts, and have the 3rd year be a team option. So you only have a commitment for 2 years, and they're usually minimum salary.
Right.
So yes, I mean, yeah, I think Dwayne Wade would be awesome on this team. Another veteran, another guy that has championship experience. And yeah, he's older, but he still can put up 20 points in a game easily.
And he's coming into a situation where we're not asking him to carry the team.
Exactly, to carry the team. So that's just something that I came up with real quick, just kind of thinking about it. So we have 2 more questions. First one from at OKC Obstinacy. Welcome back, homie. We haven't heard from you in a while. Got a little worried there. Kind of, we sent your picture over to a milk carton factory, and they put it on the back of milk cartons. We don't even know what you look like, but anyways,
we sent your Twitter handle.
Yeah, there we go. We sent the Twitter handle over there. So his first question is, what is our crunch time lineup? And I think we talked about this. So I guess we would equate the crunch time lineup to the death lineup that I put out there. So I think you're going to have a combination of Russ. And then depending on what you want to do, offense, defense, so either Robertson or Abrinas. And then you're going to have George at the 3, Carmelo at the 4. And then depending on what you do with the center position, whether you want more spacing, you probably put Jeremy Grant or Patterson out there. Or if you want defense, maybe post defense, you put Adams out there. If you want switchable perimeter defense, you put Patterson out there. So I think that's the crunch time lineup in those games where they're going to be close. But I think we're not going to experience too many close games this season. That's just me saying that. I think there's going to be a lot more blowouts this season as compared to last season. So hopefully the crunch time lineup doesn't have to be something that we see all the time.
Well, maybe that's where, unfortunately, Houston gets his minutes from.
Maybe. Hey, go Houston.
Yeah.
And then last question, again from OKC Obstinacy. Does the Melo trade keep PG from seeing time at the 4? And so he has a couple questions in this, so I lied. So does he keep? Yeah, I think so.
Obviously.
I think he does.
I think if you can keep him from playing 4, you're good.
And remember who doesn't like playing 4? Paul George. It's one of the big things that he said in Indiana. Yeah. He didn't want to play the 4. And so this move kind of keeps him from playing the 4 because I think Melo's a little bit bigger, a little bit thicker. So I think he's able to play the 4 more than would Paul George. So the next question is, who is our backup 5? So again, we talked about this. At this point, Dakari, but the real backup 5 is probably going to be Patrick Patterson / Jeremy Grant.
Yeah.
And did Presti convince Melo to take on more of a role player role? I think probably Melo knew that was a possibility coming in.
Yeah, but I think again, like you were saying, I think this is a situation where he starts maybe like they did with Durant to split up Durant and Westbrook and share them. He comes out the game first, and then comes in the game, first one off the bench, coming off, when you're starting a substitute or whatever, and then that's where you get some one-on-one time, and that's when you get to be the man on second team and whatever. Yeah. And then I think to finish out the game, you come back on along with the starters and mix and match from there.
One of the things that I see with Golden State a lot is that they always have 2 of their big 4 out there. So I think you're going to see a situation where you see at least one of the big 3 out there on the floor at all times whenever it matters. So I think Melo comes into this knowing that he's the number 3 option, And I think he comes into this willing to play that role. I think he's willing to play the role. I think the whole Olympic Melo thing, I think that's going to be a truth for this team as far as which Melo they get. And a lot of times, like I said, if you don't have to be the man, if you're able to just play basketball and just not have all that pressure on you, you play so much better. And I think you're going to find a situation where maybe even all three of them are going to play so much better, so much looser, because they have guys around them that can play. So we were going to do a Thunder preview, but, man, that trade just jacked everything up. So we're definitely going to do a podcast after Monday's media day.
Yeah.
Maybe even from the arena. So we're going to do that. And so we'll have a little bit more of a
better handle on.
Yeah, a better handle on things with this team. Like for myself, for instance, so this past week I worked on the Thunder player rankings for NTTB, for now that's Thunder basketball.
Yeah, no controversy there.
No controversy at all, hopefully. I hope you guys read it. But as of Saturday, 10 a.m., those rankings went in the toilet because, we have one new player and we got rid of, two other players. And I think I a little bit before in this podcast, I said it was three players, so it's just two players that we traded.
Right.
So the team changed overnight just like that, and it changed for the better. And so Monday we will have media day. I don't know if Melo will be there. I think he's going to be doing the whole physical and things of that nature. So I don't think he'll be there, but he may get the physical done and just go to the arena and have.
Or it might be a situation where he's just there.
Yeah, just walking
at the media
around.
day and then does the physical later on in the day.
That's true.
Just kind of a preview. So this is what the roster looks like as of 10 o'clock today. Abrinas, Adams, Carmelo, Samaj, Norris Cole, Nick. No, I don't know why he's still on here. Nick Collison, Raymond Felton, Terrence Ferguson, Paul George, Jeremy Grant, Daniel Hamilton, Josh Hustis, Dakari Johnson, Patrick Patterson, Andre Robertson, Kyle Singler, Russell Westbrook.
And Daniel Hamilton is not guaranteed. He's a two-way player, so he doesn't count against the 15-man roster. And Samaj,
but he will be at training camp.
Yeah, he'll be at definitely. And then Samaj is, the Thunder have not opted into his contract yet, so he's not necessarily a part of the 15-man roster at the moment.
ESPN has Carmelo Anthony on here, but they can't take Norris Cole off.
I guess Norris Cole hasn't signed with another team, so he's still technically a free agent. He's their free agent, so I guess they still have him on there. But two huge trades. Damn it, we still got Kyle Singler on his team, man.
And I really thought that Knicks would want Kyle Singler.
Yeah.
I talked about that in the hypothetical. We could sneak in Kyle Singler there. But.
Man, I think the Thunder know, and I think if they would have even said, hey, Enes Kanter, Kyle Singler, click. It would have been a situation where Steve Mills over at New York would have been like, click, I don't want to hear this anymore. That's crazy talk. So
I think we'll call Houston for Ryan Anderson.
Yeah, so Presti, he's Jedi mind tricking everybody, but yet he still can't get Kyle Singler off of this roster. So with all that said, we have Carmelo, we have Paul George, we have Russell Westbrook, we still have Steven Adams. This team's going to be awesome. This team's going to be great. And we will talk to you guys on Monday at Media Day. Talk to you guys later.
Have a good one.